Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome to my channel. Today, let's talk about the top 5 competitive decks in the Scarlet and Violet format. It's finally here, the release date is today, and I'm so excited to dive in to let you know what decks you can kind of see which will have the competitive play. Huge thank you for the support so far, and if you haven't checked it, a couple of days ago I looked at the under the radar, the rogue sort of decks, which I think could do well in this format. But now, let's look at the number 5 competitive deck. This goes to Miraidon EX, an incredibly strong archetype and super powerful. The tandem unit ability to get any of your lightning Pokemon out on your bench, teaming up with Photon Blaster to do a huge attack damage, teaming up with Regieleki VMAX and even the lightning special item card to try and flood your board out and be as prepared as possible to always gain these one-hit KOs. Unfortunately, this poster child of a deck hasn't performed as well in the regional events. Did get one top 8 placement, but if you look at the top 16, it kind of fallen a bit flat. Although in the City League, it's actually the second most winning deck out there behind Lost Box, which is really good to see, and about 12% of the total top 8. So yeah, it is doing all right. It's still pretty good, but it kind of has a few glaring holes. But let's check out a rough list, which can give you an idea what you could see your Miraidon EX list looking like. So this is the one which has got Klefki on. This is my list, which I've been working on for a couple weeks now, and I'm very happy with it. The Klefki really helps your Lost Box and Mew matchup. Having a mysterious lockout, especially if you have 2 out, you can kind of go around the escape rope. They have to force you to use cross switch or boss, trying to escape the ability lock, which I really like about this sort of deck. Teaming up with Regieleki V and Regieleki VMAX to do as much damage as possible with Miraidon and also Raikou. I really love this sort of a type of deck. You want to be as much very powerful as possible. Utilizing EXP share so you don't get your energies wiped out on the board is really crucial in this list. You're not running Mareep, so the electric charge and attachment, if you miss any of those and a Pokemon gets knocked out and there's no energy on the field, it will take you so long to get the recovery back out. So that's when Klefki can also help. I also run Choice Belt on this list. This helps you get the one-hit KO on Mew if you don't have your Drapion out in play. Because you have 2 VMAX plus the belt, you're doing 310 damage, which is a very good number if they don't have an Aura Courier out. Or even if you're against Giratina or Lugia, I mean, it doesn't really care, Lugia or Dunsparce, if you have 1 Regieleki VMAX and 1 Choice Belt, you'll gain the KO. Rest of the list is very simple. We're opting to a higher nest ball count because you're not running any more evolution Pokemon and don't need to have the energies in the discard pile like you do with Mareep. I think this is definitely a good archetype for you to try out right now. You do have a little bit of a glaring weakness, but you try and have the Prank Lock out. I always say Prank Lock. It's Mischievous Lock to try and stop your opponents from using any of their abilities on their basic Pokemon. This is a really good archetype. It kind of can fall a bit flat against Lost Box. That's why you have the Klefki, and it can kind of fall. It doesn't really get the right setup, but if it does, this deck is a beast, and I absolutely love it. The number 4 spot goes to Gardevoir EX, another new archetype introduced in the Scarlet and Violet format, and it's done pretty well. It's had 3 second places, 1 top 4, and 3 top 8 placements in the regional championship and the champion series in Japan as well. Gaining second place in the 3,200 place tournament is no laughing matter, and it's such a strong deck. Unfortunately, the results in the City League don't reflect the regionals and championship, but it's still just as powerful. It is slowly getting there to be the high numbers after its huge success in these big tournaments. Utilizing its amazing ability to get any energies you have out in play from your discard pile, but you have the limit of putting the damage counters on it. Teaming up with Dacian and also the Gardevoir, like from Belief Chilling Rain, you can hit huge one-hit KO potential. So let's have a look at a rough list. So this is the second place list, and I think this is a really powerful one. And I've actually been testing out this list myself last few weeks at my local and doing pretty well. I really like having the higher outs to Gardevoir because if you utilize all your Curliers and you utilize the normal Gardevoir, you still get that draw effect, but you get that extra bonus of attaching the energies out in there. And the emergency jelly is especially good in Gardevoir because you can immediately heal all the damage out if you attack with it. Dacian V is also very nice to have it. Team up with Sky Steel Stone, you can get the cheeky 3 to 4 prizes on VMAX and VSTAR Pokemon, which I love about this deck, has that capability to do. Utilizing more single prizes is good, and once we get round to even looking over to a Paldean Evolved, when you get the Drift Blue and that cool like giant cape, that's when Gardevoir can really be explosive. But right now, this is kind of a really good build and a good stepping ground to understand the list. Yes, this is a list that did come second in the tournament, but it is a stage 2. That's nothing I can stress you about. Stage 2 Pokemon are always becoming a little bit weak ever since the errata for Rare Candy way back in 2011. Kind of getting it out potentially turn 2, even turn 3 is really, really a big struggle because you want to try and get as powered out as possible, get the big damage output, but it takes a while to set up where you could be attacking with the Mirage Step Curlier to get out all your other Curlies out from your deck, which is like the Frogadier in the Greninja break list. And you have a weird selection of supporters because you're constantly drawing with Curlier. I really like this list. I think you can kind of struggle with Path. You only have 2 outs to it with Temple of Sinnoh and Collapse Stadium, but you also have and Worker, so you kind of have to reutilize Power Pads. You always try and get Path out of play. But with that being said, it kind of can get really tricky at opening hands because you're having so many item cards to get out your Pokemon in play and not focusing on your supporters. So yeah, I like this list. I think it can really help in other sort of matchups. Your Miraidon matchups, pretty good. Your Lost Box is kind of okay. You could definitely really, really power through. And your Lugia as well is not too shabby as well. Because you're attacking with single prize attackers. Because you're never really going to go with Gardevoir or Zacian near the end, so you can get that 3-prizer. I think it's really, really strong. This deck did actually lose most of the time its second place to Lost Box, which is something you should always consider about. It hasn't the strongest Lost Box at times, but I think this is a really, really good contender to play in the format. Definitely understand that you will see this played a lot, and it's really gaining a lot of attraction as we go along in the meta in Japan. My number 3 spot goes to Lugia Single Strike. Yes, Lugia, what is dead may never die. It is so, so strong. It now has the Single Strike package, so you don't have the really toxic version with the powerful energy, the Stoutland, the Amazing Rare Evitos. So you're getting these instant KOs. You're kind of building up the board a lot more, utilizing some single and 2-prize attackers with Tyranitar and Stonjourner to get those big one-hit KOs potential what this deck has to offer. In the regionals and championships, it did get 2 of the top 4 placements in Japan, the big tournament, which is really good to see, and then 7 top 8 placements. It's doing very, very well, and definitely kind of rising up the ranks in the City League by gaining so many placements right now. It did come a bit late to the party. Lugia took its little time to figure out where it goes. A lot of players realize that Single Strike, it's an archetype that has Single Strike energy, so it does more damage, and Tyranitar and Stonjourner can instantly get these big one-hit KOs, which this deck is always prone to know. So yes, Lugia is definitely an archetype you need to understand, and it is performing well, and definitely the numbers have been increasing week by week by week. And this is a top 4 list from the Japanese tournament. This list does play a few weird sort of cards, you're wondering why they play Great Ball. You're not having the instant search Quick Ball, or even cards like the Evolution Instance. You have to rely on a flip coin with Capturing Aroma. So Great Ball can guarantee that Pokemon if you hit it in the top 7. And you play Radiant Jirachi as your Radiant Pokemon of choice. I've kind of seen it, people toying between Radiant Jirachi or Serena. Radiant Jirachi is fine because you can help in your Duraludon matchup because you have no outs. If someone just puts a lone Duraludon out there, you can't go through it, and it can really, really struggle against it. But Radiant Jirachi immediately says, no, I just need to have the double turbo. I need to flip 2 heads and I've got the KO. But you have to rely on that, and it's kind of like your last minute call sort of thing. It's fine with this list. You definitely you aren't as prone to ability lock as much as you were in the last one. You're playing Tower of Darkness, Collapse Stadium, and Pump Cruise. You have loads and loads of outs. And because of you playing loads and loads of Single Strike energy, you play Earn a Fatality to shuffle the energies back in. Tyranitar and Stonjourner can do massive amount of damage, where Tyranitar can hit a whopping, I believe, 320 damage. Or 330 damage. It can do an insane amount of damage, which is so strong, especially in a basic V Pokemon. You can also see we've gone to higher counts of Lugia V and VSTAR because, like I said, the only way to guarantee you're searching out one of these cards is through Ultra Ball, and Capturing Aroma is a flip of ones you might want to have. So that's something you've got to be very careful about, and Professor Barnett really does see a clutch because you get the guaranteed discard with your Archeops. I think this is a really good deck. It has so much stronger matchup wise. Can dominate Miraidon, Mew, and Gardevoir. It can absolutely obliterate at times. Still can struggle a little bit against Lost Box, but it's such a powerful archetype which can get the big one-hit KOs, which is what decks really struggle with. Overall, very, very powerful list. Very, very strong. Something you need to test about. If you've been playing Lugia for a very long time, I mean, it feels like it's been a long time, definitely try this version out. Kind of see where it kind of like fits in your jam. Is this the type of build you want to go with? Do you want to change to have more like other sort of attackers and not focus on single strike? But definitely a really good one to test against if you're going to EUIC or other big tournaments. My number 2 spot is Mew VMAX, and everyone knows exactly what number 1 is. This actually won the very first regionals that happened at the very start of the post-rotation. So it was already on there, had a big target on its back because it didn't have many cards change. It lost Quick Ball, but it gained like Nest Ball and re-added Feather Ball to guarantee you can get Mew for free. And done pretty well, some top 4s and top 8 placements in these big regional and championship events. And City League is also performing really, really well. Definitely staying up there like Miraidon at about the 12% range. It doesn't lose too much, and to be fair, there's not too much to talk about because the first place list kind of talks for it. This one did focus more on the judge path sort of build, kind of playing only 2 judges, but 3 path to the peak and 3 lost vacuum. Try and guarantee you're always trying to get that path lock and play. The Lost City is really nice because that helps you if they play the Drapion. You want to get that Drapion out as quickly as possible. You don't want it to stay around for too long. So trying to get rid of 1 if they play 2, it's kind of a bit of a shame, but if you get rid of 1, it's really, really strong. And the rest of it kind of stays the same. You play the higher count of Nest Ball because you can always get that card out because of VIP pass becomes your immediately Cramomatic fodder. This list does play the Cross Switcher. I really like that the Cross Switcher is slowly coming back into Mew. Not relying too much on boss, still playing a high amount of boss, but ability to just get the path, judge, and play Cross Switcher at the same turn is really, really strong. Utilizing only the Arvin as the brand new card from this list, getting that so needed item card and tool card from the list. Now, just remember, everyone, tool cards are no longer item cards anymore. They're now their own separate entity. So having this Arvin means it can immediately get the Chromatic or Choice Belt you might need, but you can't discard Choice Belt with Chromatic. That's no longer an item card. So that's something which everyone needs to remember about in this new format. But apart from that, Mew doesn't change too much. It's still got an amazing matchup against everything. It is so strong. It has one-shot capability. I can't talk too much more about this deck because it is such a strong archetype and doesn't lose much. And of course, the number 1 spot is Lost Zone. This deck has dominated, I repeat, dominated post-rotation so far in Asia. There has been, as of time of recording, 7 regionals and the big event in Japan, and it has won 6 of them. 6 of them have been won by Lost Box, and the only one it has lost to was the Mew, which I just showed you. Yes, it is insanely powerful by getting 3 second places, 4 top 4s, and 12 top 8s. And the City League, well, need I say more? You can see the results there, how powerful it is. This is a combination of both Giratina and the Comfy build. This isn't even including some like rogue sort of ones that may have appeared like Gudra or stuff like that. So that's insane to think about how powerful this archetype is. It didn't lose much. It was able. Now we say goodbye to Big Paracel. Star Requiem is now in order. It gained the amazing new stadium, which all your Pokemon pretty much only have free retreats. You're constantly switching for free. Getting Nest Ball, so you guarantee you get the Pokemon out, so you don't need to worry too much about getting all of them through Battle VIP Pass. This deck is insane in post-rotation, and I've got a few sort of versions of the list to show you, regular one as well as the Giratina one, but yeah, definitely a deck which you need to know how to play against, and kind of understand the gameplay against it, because it is just so explosive right now. So this is the first place list from the giant Japanese tournament with over 3,200 players. And I've done a deck profile talking about this as well. It kind of focuses on the dogs, the Zamazenta and the Raikou, which are really, really powerful decks. Raikou helps you in your decks, like going against your Lugias, going against anything like that, because it's a big hitter. Your Drapion is really helpful against your Mew. I love Raihan. Raihan is my favorite supporter, so of course, I really love it. And because we said goodbye to Scoop Up Net, Sableye is even more stronger. By Lost Mining, can just completely flood the board of energies, and you could get all your prizes in one turn just through getting the big attacks and then Sableye to get that big clear out near the end. Nothing too much and too crazy to play in this sort of list. The Sky Soul Stone is really helpful because it gets that 4 prizes against Mew, for 3 prizes against what's it called? Lugia. Why am I always banking on Lugia? It's like the most played deck. It's so funny. But yeah, you're playing a high count of Nest Balls. You're playing Energy Recycle, so you can shuffle it all back in. You're playing much higher counts than the switching cards, like 4 switching, 4 card, 4 escape rope. You're playing 2 copies of the stadium. And the best thing is about this, we're playing Lost Vacuum, because Lost Vacuum does help get rid of some cards from the opponent's side, but also really good. It can like get rid of the Beach Court or get rid of the Sky Soul Stone after it's being used to help fuel your Lost Zone to get those big KOs which you might need with Sableye or unlock your Mirage Gate capability. I like the Clara. I love everything about Lost Zone. This is something you need to test. This version here is definitely going to be the list which everyone's going to be talking about and playing against, because it won the big tournament in Japan. So definitely on your radar to kind of understand and play, or even test against to get your best options out. And this is a 2nd place Giratina list. I believe this list did very well in other regionals, but you can see it's very much more straightforward than the other, kind of going to having a little bit less switching outs by having 2 of each one. But I really like the Thornton. I loved having the Path to Peak in there, because Path to Peak can really slow down the opponent, and that's something which this deck loves. Definitely also having the Lost Vacuum, exactly like I just told you about with the Lost Zone, helping fuel out to Giratina. You can get to that Star Requiem, or even Sableye get to the Lost Mine. It does play the Hawlucha, which I kind of really find a big fan of this, because you can just get those extra damage outs which you might need. Don't know when this could ever really be as important as possible. Like, it could help you get some KOs from like some Cramorants or some Comfies, like you go 6/6 with Sableye, and then you play a Hawlucha, and then you get the 2 prizes that way. It's really strong in mid-term. Nothing too crazy in this list. I love this one. I think Giratina is definitely one of the big baddies of the format. And I think you need to understand Lost Box. Seeing how important and how powerful Lost Box has been the last few months is really kind of making me a bit worried about where it could fit into our actual meta. So with that being said, thank you for watching this video. I hope this has given you a little bit of an insight, kind of seeing the results of what these decks have done, a little bit of an understanding about sort of the decks which they have been played, and kind of getting you excited to play these cards in our sort of format. If you're new, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. I also on Twitter, so follow there, because I've probably got some Scarlet and Violet cards, which I'm most likely going to be posting some pulls. I'm so excited for this set. I'm really excited to play it, kind of understand about where it's going to go with our meta and how different it's going to be from the rest of the world. So my name is Charlie TCG. I hope you have enjoyed this breakdown, and I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.